Welcome back. 2012 Nissan Maxima 2.5 liter S. Gonna do maintenance, just basic maintenance. Needs front brakes. We're down about 1 millimeter, actually, real close. But indicators are making noise, so we're gonna do front pads and rotors on this car. I'm gonna turn this wheel a little bit so I can get at it a little better. I'm gonna go in here with a screwdriver. Try to back that piston off just a little bit, and to make it easier to get the caliper off. I'm gonna get you some light in there. I'll just hold it because I can't see. See if I can get in there. Yeah, there it goes. Not a lot to get a hold on, but I don't need much. Just need a little bit. There we go. Now I've got some play in this, so I can get in there and get that off pretty easily. Alright, 14 millimeter for the bolts here on the caliper. Take them off. If they spin on you, there's a flat hex on the inside. You just got to grab that. These are 19 millimeter for the wrench if you need it. We'll take the bottom. We'll just loosen the top first. Just to loosen it. I'm not going to take it all the way out. Just loosen it. Take the bottom one off. And then we can tip this up first. Just leave it up there like that for now. Take our pads out. Uh, 3/16 of an inch left, maybe. Not even 3/16. Not even an eighth, really. Yeah, maybe 3/16. The outsides in these wear a little faster than the insides. And there's about, I don't know, 2 millimeters. There's about 1 millimeter on the other side when I did that. So they definitely do. We're going to undo these mount bolts for the caliper bracket. They're 22 millimeter. I don't believe I can get my big gun on them, so we'll just use a poor man's impact, which means we'll start them with a hammer, and then we'll put the small gun on them. Okay. I'm going to finish taking my caliper off now. Get that out of the way. And it's spinning it. Like I said before, it's spinning the inside. Probably going to get it with a gun though. Yep. I get a piece of wire, bungee cord, hook, hanger. I'm just going to hang this up out of the way here. We're just going to hang this so it doesn't hang on a flexible line. And get it out of the way for now. That's all. Just leave it there. You see this? Yeah, you can see it. There you go. Alright, now we'll just finish taking these mounting bolts off. Loose. Give me my socket. Hold on to the mount, hold on to the bracket. It doesn't take off on you and drop on the floor. Alright, so here's your bracket. So always replace your hardware. This hardware's got to be replaced. We'll pull out. These aren't too bad. As far as rust behind, there's a little bit, but not too bad. We're going to come in here with a file and a wire wheel. We're going to clean these up, get all the corrosion out of there on both ends. We'll pull these slide pins. We'll re-grease them, not a lot, but a thin coat. Right where that boot grabs underneath the top of this hex head is corroded a little bit, so we'll clean it up on a wire wheel as well. I'll show you that after I do it. Clean that up. Right now we just take our rotor. This one doesn't want to come off. See all the rust coming out of it? Maybe you can see it. There it goes. Not too bad. We're replacing them, so they need to be replaced. Spin this back to the front now that I took all my leverage off of it. That was good. That was smart, huh? come in and clean the face of this hub. Put some high temp grease on it. We want to keep the corrosion from getting in there and getting started. And of course, chemical of 1001 uses. Brake clean. Clean it off first, in case there's any grease on there. Get my cookie wheel. You can do this with Scotch-Brite or sandpaper. Doesn't really matter. I have a cookie wheel, which I will use, and some Scotch-Brite. And I am wearing glasses for this. Protect your eyes. Put a high temp grease or brake grease. I just have brake grease here. You can use this regular high temp grease for this as well. Thin coating, you don't need a lot. While we're in here, we gotta do a couple other things. Clean up a couple other things here. I'm gonna come back on the caliper up here. And we're going to clean the face of this piston. That's why I didn't push it all the way in. I just wanted to move it back a little bit. Going to clean the face of this piston and then the back of these tabs. Anything that rides against the back plate of the pads, you want to clean and grease. So we're just going to come in here and clean it. You can do this with, like I said, Scotch-Brite sandpaper. Clean this some more. In the back, these are not very, they don't have much rust on them at all, so using a piece of Scotch-Brite here is fine. If it was really corroded, you want to come in here with a file and just knock the corrosion off of it and then sand any corrosion. You don't want to sand the metal off of it, but you do want to get the corrosion off of it. We'll clean that off and we'll grease that. Push the piston back in. Just use an old pad like that. Hopefully you're in screen here. You in? Yeah, you're there. You can see. We'll just push this back in. You can do this with a C-clamp or a pair of channel locks if you have them. Doesn't really matter. I just have this little tool to do it. It should go back in. I do have my master cylinder top off and I check my fluid level. You might want to do that before you do this. Make sure you don't push it out of the master cylinder reservoir. Should go in pretty easy, and it's going right back in. Not any problem. If it binds up, you want to check the caliper or your flexible hose that leads to it. Sometimes they can get clogged. Now we're going to grease that as well. This is what I use. Permatex Ceramic Extreme for metal to metal. That's what I use. Back of the tabs here that ride against the back of the outside pad. And the face of the piston, which rides against the back of the inside pad. It's just helps, once again, corrosion's your enemy. So you're just trying to keep corrosion out of there, and it helps to keep them quiet. Keep them working well. Alright, so that's ready. I'm going to hang a new rotor on here next so I don't forget, and then we're going to go clean up the mounting bracket. Alright, new rotor. These rotors, I don't have to clean them if they do come in, and they're coated with an anti-corrosion substance, whatever that is. You do want to spray them down with brake clean and clean them really well. These don't have that. They come in some kind of corrosion resistant bag, which seems to work well, so that's kind of good. We'll just put this on and put a lug nut on there for now, just to hold it in place so we don't have to move around. So we're going to take our bracket. I'm going to come in there with a file, knock this corrosion off. I'm going to take it over to the wire wheel, clean them out, get all the corrosion out of there, and then we'll grease them. All right, so I came in here and I cleaned my bracket behind where the hardware goes on the wire wheel in a file. Took all the rust off of there, corrosion. I pulled my pins, make sure I clean that top groove. That was a little corroded, not too bad. And then I'm going to put a light coat of grease. This is silicone brake grease on this. I want to get some up here in that groove first. Make sure you get a little bit in there. That tends to be where they get corroded. Then a thin coating, don't put a lot. If you put a lot, you put too much in there, it'll lock up on you. It's kind of a hydraulic action going on. So just a thin coat. And these pins are different. This one has a bushing, so make sure you take it out, you put it back in the same place. There's a difference in this particular application. We'll just push them back in. I already did the other one. Now when you do this, they tend to have a lot of air in them. You take a little pick or screwdriver. As you push this in, don't poke it. You want to get in there between the head of the bolt and the thing and just kind of get the air out of it like that. That takes the air out of it if you have a lot. And just make sure it's got a hold of that bolt in that groove. It does. Now, I use a different, I use this for metal to metal. So this is ceramic extreme brake grease, purple. Just the color of it. And we're going to come in behind this hardware and put a thin coat behind where the hardware is going to go. All we're doing is keeping the moisture from getting in there and corrosion from starting. You don't need a ton, but you do want to coat it. So always replace your hardware, always grease behind your hardware. What usually happens is corrosion will get in behind the hardware that sits in here, the slides, and it'll push them in, and it'll pinch the end of the pad, and then the pad can't move like it's supposed to. That's when you start to have problems. So always replace them. Let me get this the right way. The top has these little tabs that stick out, the top on it. So that is the top, goes that way. We'll just stick them in here like that. Get my other one here. So you can see the difference. There's little tabs sticking out. That's at the top of the bracket. This one obviously doesn't have that. That's the bottom. And you'll see in a second what that's for. So that's all ready to go. We're gonna put it back in place here and just reattach it to the this steering knuckle. They drop stuff all over. If I ever get anything, I don't think so. We'll just get it started here. Wire out of the way. Alright, I didn't realize the camera shut off. I don't know how much you saw or didn't see. I've greased behind the hardware. Put the new hardware in. These tabs are at the top that stick out. You need them. Reattach it to the knuckle. Put my bolts back in. Now I gotta find my pad that I just put down, I'm sure. So this little squealer goes at the top, has to go in this hole. Has to go right in that goes in that hole like that. And I'll show you what that does. I'll get this one in place. And I'll probably have to do it 3 or 4 times because it's going to pop it. So when you cut on the brake, it's against the pad. When you let go, what that does is pushes the pad back out. It keeps it from sitting there and helps to keep it moving. So you can see how easy this slides. That's how they should slide. I talked about before, when you get corrosion behind this hardware, it pinches that hardware and then it pinches the pad and then it can't move. So that's why it's important to always put new hardware and grease behind the hardware. You don't need a lot of grease, but a thin coat. So I'm going to let go of that. It'll probably fall out of there at some point. I'm going to put my caliper back on now. Let me unwind it here. Let's see if I can drop my pad on the floor a couple times. Alright, get my wire out of the way. Make sure you don't coil up your flexible brake line. Don't twist it up. So I'm going to put the top bolt back in for the slide, and then I'll show you why in a second. I can just leave it hanging there once I get that started. I just tip that up like that, leave it there for a second. Now I'm going to try to get both pads started and hold them in place, and then I can use the caliper to hold them, because this, you can see how it's trying to push it back out. So you got to kind of hold them in as you're doing them. I'm going to put my head right in the way, but I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to get this started on here. Can't see because I'm right on top of it. I missed it. I know you can't see a thing. I hear you. I hear you yelling at me because you're looking at my head. Alright, I got them both. So I can just hold that like that, and I can tip this down, and now they can't come apart. Now they'll stay put. Grab my bottom boot or my bottom slide bolt, make sure it doesn't hit it. Line that up, put my bolt in. I've already tightened these, if I didn't say that before. I've already tightened the steering knuckle up, the bolts for that. I'm just going to run these in. I'm going to turn my gun down a little bit. Don't crush these. They're not, you know, they don't need to be super tight. Turn my gun down a little bit. Don't snap them. Just snug them up. Make sure you have it forward though, not reverse. All right, let's try that again. Okay, that's it for that. So these should move. See how easily these move? That's what you want. And I lost my back tab. I gotta fix it. This little tab came out of me, so I gotta fix that one. I might have to pull it again. I don't know if I can get that in there. Probably not. Ah, it came out of there when I was messing with it. I don't know if I'll be able to get it. We'll see. Let me see if I can get it. Come on, right on the edge of it. There it goes. All right, I got it. You want them in there. Good. That's about it. Obviously, we're going to put the wheel back on here. When you finish this, pump your brakes till they get firm, or you get a scary moment because you're not going to have any brakes. But that's pretty much it. Pretty easy job. These were not corroded really at all. So it went pretty well. Pretty easy job. Simple maintenance, but do your maintenance. Makes a difference.